Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday already. Thursday. Closing in on the end of the week. Good morning, John. Good morning, Bull Strike Cheetah. Thanks for tuning into the latest Futures Edge. I really appreciate it. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Mark. Thank you for tuning in live on your day off. I really appreciate that too. Good morning to people in the background. Good morning, Tony. Don't know if Sterling will be in. It is his vacation time, so we'll see. But there were no real earnings to talk about. After the close, there will be. The big news today, we got metals, especially silver and copper. Remember, we talked about silver yesterday, outlining the two ways that I would look to play it. Good morning, Anissa. And we got the breakout, not the pullback. The double was invalidated and never triggered. And we got the breakout higher, and then it ran. We'll take a look at that. But this morning we have hold on, window just popped up. Hold on, let me move this out of the way. There we go. We have initial jobless claims climbing to 247, expected 235, and prior was 239. So initial jobless claims continuing to rise. Continued jobless claims dropping a bit from prior, but still above 1900. Still above 1900. That is not going in the right direction. Little drop, but still not going in the right direction. Good morning, McRangers. And then you had exports and imports for April data, trade deficit dropping because of the extreme tariffs that were put on. What else do we have? Non-productivity final number for a Q1 1.5 drop. Today we got 4 and 8 week bill auction. 4 and 8 week bill auctions. Fed Kugler speaking and Harker also speaking, but the Fed has not been seen to have any major impact on the markets. Good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Hey, I grew up a little in Lakeland, Florida. I spent a couple years of my youth in Lakeland, Florida. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Jacob. Did I say good morning to you, McRangers? If not, you get a second one. So that's where we sit. Remember, tomorrow we got non-farm payrolls. Market, Tesla down. Head and shoulders top. I also talked about that on the Futures Edge. If you didn't watch this late episode, I still recommend you tuning in. Google, Amazon up. Meta continues to play out that double bottom. So that's where we sit there. What else do we have? We have a lot of chips still up. And remember, we have key earnings after the close. Groups, let me just do a quick refresh. Basic materials. But everything positive today. EU did cut too. The EU did cut 25 more basis points. So we'll probably have Trump slamming Powell again. You should be cutting. Well, we'll see. Basic materials, comm services, energy leading the way, but everything up today. Everything up on the Thursday. Fed watch still has the first cut in September. Fear and greed still in greed mode. Schiller PE close to 37. Nothing much to talk about there. I did not really look at a bunch of earnings. I was not interested in a bunch of stuff this morning. But after, there you go, Broadcom, DocuSign, Lululemon. Broadcom will be the most important to the market, but I've been watching DocuSign and Lululemon, especially Lululemon for the leisure wear consumer of the higher end. And tomorrow is really nothing. So the only thing we have to focus on tomorrow morning is non-farm payrolls. Hey, Christoph. Good morning, Ted. Hey, Harold. How you doing? So, again, trading against this very key level. Tried to spike up a bit. Still not invalidating the double, even though it turned into a short-term triple in the bigger picture. Since we are eking out new highs, you still do have the lower probability double. Not expecting it to trigger unless something catastrophic happens to the market. Still expecting a roll. Looks like we're going to have cycles topping, going into non-farm payrolls. And remember, weekly is starting to roll over. So we will have to see. We will have to see. Going to still be watching to see if we roll over for more of a consolidation. Today, my key breakdown area, 59.74 area. Then the target's 59.49, 59.50. And on a bigger drop, if something catastrophic happened, 58.80. To the upside, If we can sustain, we've already rejected. You see this? We tried to break above it, but came back down below the key resistance level. So we still have to sustain. You can watch for about 59.98 to 6K to sustain something above there. At least I don't want it to fall back below this key area. And then my target's still 60.23, just beyond the spike up today. But there's been selling pressure up here. There's still been selling pressure. Yesterday we had a back. Every time it came up here, getting sold, but then we had buying pressure down here. So again, it's a tug of war between these two levels. So that's what I'm watching. If we do drop down to the 59.74, 59.75 area, I will be looking for buy setups. I'm not real looking for sell setups based off this top thing. I'm actually watching now for it to try to sustain something unless we form a topping pattern. The NASDAQ, still just climbing higher. Remember, there is no double in place. If we break out above 21,858, we got 22K, and then we have the next key level, 22,141 and 22,200. The support level, sorry about the noise, it's been working outside. 21,675 is about the key support. 21,650 to 675 is key support. Oh boy. They have to do this now during a live stream. Then we have 21,550. So that's where we sit there. The Dow, again, not doing much at all. The Dow, I'm not even going to bother with the Dow this morning. There's nothing to talk about, nor with the Russell. The Russell still, you got 2126 key resistance trading against support at 2096. The VIX coming down here. Might be looking for, again, a volatility play going into non-farm payrolls tomorrow. But it's still on a more, the first level now for a hint that we could be getting into a rollover play is above 1850 about. DAX, just grinding higher still. Grinding higher, but not much to talk about unless we close below the rotation zone. Still, my major harmonic is 24,632. The yields triggering a head and shoulders top. So we're going to still be watching. It's going to be interesting, but on any bounce play, still temporarily watching for rollovers then. The notes, remember, we only had the percent B buy on the weekly for a bounce, but there was no head and shoulders on this. What else? We have dollar index. This is still a valid potential double bottom. That's the only thing that can make me short-term bullish on a close above 98.94. Other than that, I'm still watching for a reconnect, at least with the 87.5 to see how it reacts there. Crude, still trying to build. We got separation of the rotation zone, trying to build. I'm going to be watching for a potential breakout play. Now, I'd be more aggressively at least moving a stop up on this one and taking a partial profit sooner rather than later and then letting the rest potentially run. Other than that, it's still, I'd have to close above 64.87. 65.92 to 66 is a key first target area. Gold still having a little trouble against this. 75% harmonic. But the only thing right now is I'm watching the bottom of the rotation zone to see if we close below that. Other than that, I'm staying in the long position setup. Silver, which we went over. Talked about this yesterday. We had the potential double top, which obviously never triggered, rotated back up. And I said, if that does not trigger, I went through why this was a significant level yesterday. If we break above there, which we started close above it with momentum climbing right there. Gave you a couple bars to get in and then boom, launched. So at this point, now if you weren't in it, I'd be looking for, again, some kind of pause or pullback. But at this point, 36.50 is roughly my next target. Beyond there is 37.80. The key support, and if you didn't watch yesterday, just tune in, especially at the end, to the silver section. That's where we go. Copper. We based yesterday right at the key resistance and then also took off again. 75% harmonic hit in a minor breakdown zone. Still looking now for 520 again. So we have that going. Euro, what did you say? Looking to sell a Euro yesterday futures 115, 116 bull call. July 3rd expiration, just doubting the currencies will move much in the coming weeks. And they might not. So you're looking to sell a bull call 115, 116. All right. All right. There you go. Christoph sharing his trading strategy, his trading plan, what he's doing. And that is coming back up in the 87.5, which again, we have a potential double top, but we could easily still rise at 87.5. So that's, hey, I like it, Christoph. Like it. Again, the major thing I'm watching for is to see if we trigger this or trigger that massive double bottom. The trend is still up. There was major resistance up here. So I so like that. Spiders, gap up today. Let me fix that chart. Again, the high yesterday was 597.95. I was looking at 598 as the harmonic. We just missed it. We're going to open up at 597.62, 63. If we do break above that 598 level, the next is 650. Still potential double in play. Any rollover would be for a gap fill. The first thing I'd be looking at yesterday, though, is yesterday's open at 596.96 before the gap fill. Then 595.93. The Qs, which remember we invalidated the potential double. The Qs, again, another gap up. Another gap up. On a rollover play. Let's see. We have 528.77 for yesterday's close. That's the key thing. And there's actually a very decent support level right around 5, just that right in front of 527. On a continued rally, we're looking still at 537.50 area. What else? We got the Bitcoin forming a potential head and shoulders top. Going to be keeping an eye on that, especially tomorrow if the markets roll over a bit. Going to be watching that one. Tesla closing right at the trigger point for the head and shoulders yesterday, right at the rotation zone and gapping down today. I'm still watching for continued lower price action, even on bounces now. I talked about how Jim was still bullish. I was looking for rollover plays between the 50 and 62.5, and we pointed out the head and shoulders top on Futures Edge on Tuesday live. So we're going into some key support, but we have a major gap left behind, a couple major gap left behinds. I'm really focused on this gap from Friday the 9th. Broadcom going into earnings this afternoon. We came up just shy of the harmonic yesterday, got some selling pressure. So on a rally, that's what I'm watching as key resistance around yesterday's high in that harmonic level going into earnings. Remember, if it does beat on earnings, 280 would be my next target based off harmonics. All right. So, hey, good morning, Sterling. Summer's here and it's time for fighting in the streets. Good morning, Richard. The results of the call between Trump and Xi are shown as being productive. How would that affect the strength of the dollar in the short term? That's so nebulous concept. Nobody's going to trade off that statement. I mean, it doesn't matter what's said. Productive, that doesn't matter. Is it an agreement or not? That's just more spin from the administration. Again, you're just seeing a little dollar weakness, but that's already in the trend today based off the ECB cut. Nobody's going to trade off what comes out of either the China camp with the state media or in terms of the Trump. It's going to be whether they state a trade deal or not. What does productive mean? Nothing. So there. I mean, by the way, from a currency perspective, I'm going to be the only thing I'm looking besides minor patterns. I'm still watching for the dollar to reconnect with the 87.5. We only have a minor double bottom, which would not be invalidated yet. The bigger thing I'm still watching. Everybody's so bearish on the dollar. We're getting potential divergences. Even if we retest the 97.50 area, we're getting potential divergences. I'll be really interested when we get cycle bottom again. 4 potential bounce patterns, which could turn into front run patterns. The boat's getting very lopsided on the dollar. Again, that's why I just can't trade the news unless it's something concrete, and it still has to trigger a pattern. Crude. We already talked about that, by the way. Sorry about jumping back to that. I'm trying to think what else we have today. Let's just take a look at some other things. Meta. There we go. We're probably going to tick off the final target on Meta, on the good old Meta. Double bottom. There we go. Let's see how Amazon's shaping up. Amazon's selling up, but a little gap up today. Little gap up. Still unable to close above the 62.5. Still have the double in play, but still unable to close above the 62.5. So that's the key level I'm looking at there. Other than that, there's just not a lot to talk about going into non-farm payrolls besides, again, trend is still up. Unless I get a sell signal up here, going to watch for consolidation or a potential breakout play. Can't really focus on breakdown plays unless we really break this 59.75, and I'd be shocked if that happened ahead of non-farm payrolls. But that's what I'm looking for if it does trade down there. I'm long in CRWV at a price of 37. I have my stop loss at stop loss at 95. Maybe you mean 35? When it's way overextended. Let me take a look. CRWV. Or wait, you're long. Oh, from way back in 37. You have a stop loss of 35. Okay, I see what you're saying. When it's this, let me see. Wow. It just depends on your time frame. I wouldn't personally have a stop all the way back at 95. Would I ride this all the way down from 155 to 95? No, because here's the deal. I wouldn't crowd my stop, but you got some, again, I can't tell you. I don't know your full position. I don't know your portfolio. Personally, right there is a halfway decent level to look for. It just depends on your time frame and how long you want to be in this thing. When things go like this, I generally watch for bigger backfills. So I am a little more aggressive with a stop. Now, you'll get at some point a pullback reaction, then I watch for the secondary bounce. So alert me to this. This is not something I look for. But once we get a pullback, I'd be looking for the secondary bounce. And then if you can't get above that 62.5 on the secondary bounce, that's where I really start getting more aggressive with my stop. Right now, I'd be looking somewhere down here around the 37.5, around this key level, around 145 in the bottom of the rotation zone. Would not want it closing below that area. Because we could then see, this is gone, this is, again, it's a younger stock, but it's gone completely vertical. All right. And you can see a bigger backfill. So I wouldn't want to ride, personally, I would not want to ride it all the way back down to 95. If we got back down to some of these key areas, especially this big consolidation area, I'd be looking to reestablish a position. Now, would I just exit this? No, because the trend is still up. You can see dip in the rotation zone, dip in the rotation zone, haven't even hit the rotation zone. It's just consolidate, a little pullback. But in the short term, your other key level, if you want to look at another key area, is this. Why is this a key area? You see this big gap open, close down. See this? That, and then you see you have a close exactly the same level, and this was an inside bar. And that's on the 1 hour chart. Now here's your daily. Your daily. again, very overextended. So on a bigger pullback, here's your daily. I'd be looking into the daily rotation zone. Look at the top of it, right at the 62.5. That's where I would not ride this all the way down. And on the bigger picture, look where the bottom of the rotation zone is. Look, you come back down here, I'd be looking to potentially get long again. So I don't mind, and you don't have to unwind everything. It's not a binary thing. You can take something off and then look to get back on. It just depends on, again, how active you want to be, how much you want to trade it, or how much you just want to sit with a position. But again, I'm not a fan of, I mean, it got up to what, 166? You're almost giving back. You're giving back nearly 40% on that stop loss. That's a pretty generous stop. All right, that's where we sit. That's where we sit. Remember, not much news out today. A couple Fed speaks. So, big thing tomorrow will be non-farm payroll. Anything out of the administration. And if we get more data out from the Trump Z call, I think people are still looking for any reason to buy this market. Tipping into exceedingly bullish mode. That's why I'm in very cautious bullish mode, but we have not triggered a rollover play yet. With that, I will be back tomorrow again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye for now.